What if one man could make entire cities quake with fear, not by wielding a sword alone, but by stacking the severed heads of his opponents like a monument to his rule? What if that man, centuries after Genghis Khan, refined the art of terror so precisely that no age seemed more frightened than his? Meet Timur, also known as Tamerlane, a conqueror whose legacy is defined by spectacle, strategy, and savagery. The rise of the lame warrior. Timur was born in 1336 near the city of Kesh, now Shahriseps in Transsaxonia, present-day Uzbekistan. He belonged to the Barlas tribe, a Turkicized Mongol group that had settled in the region after the earlier Mongol expansions. He earned the nickname the Lame because of a battlefield injury that left him adapted to using a crutch or riding in a particular way. In his youth, Timur maneuvered through the fractured politics of the Chagatai Khanate, gradually building a power base in Transsaxonia. By 1370, he was effectively in control of his region, declaring himself ruler and turning Samarkand into the vibrant capital of his growing dominion. His claim to authority did not rest purely on descent. He was not a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, but he married into the Chinggisid line and styled himself as the son-in-law, Gurkhan, of the Great Khan, thereby borrowing legitimacy from the steppe heritage. Timur's ascent combined nimble tribal politics with bold military ambition. He realized early that to rule the sedentary states beyond the steppe, a conqueror needed not only force but also symbols and a reputation that preceded his armies. Campaigns of devastation and domination. From the 1380s onward, Timur launched successive campaigns that stretched across Persia, the Caucasus, India, Anatolia, and Russia. Encyclopedia Britannica summarizes, he invaded eastern Iran and Khorasan in 1383 to 85. Then western Iran, Mesopotamia, and Georgia by 1394. Occupied Moscow for a year and pushed his forces across a vast arc of Eurasia. Crushing the Golden Horde. One of his most consequential strategic campaigns came in 1395, when he turned his forces north to face Toktamish of the Golden Horde. He defeated him at the Terek River, then devastated the Horde's urban centers such as Sarai and Astrakhan, cities critical to Mongol economic and political power. The Indian Expedition. This defeat helped open the pathway for the rise of the Grand Duchy of Moscow, as the dominant Mongol power in the region was weakened. In 1398 to 99, Timur crossed into the Indian subcontinent, ostensibly to punish the Sultan of Delhi for his laxity, but in practice to seize immense wealth. His cavalry swept into the Tughlaq Sultanate, reached Delhi in December 1398, sacked the city and took artisans, riches, and captives back to Samarkand. He did not try to hold India for long. The logistical burden and fractious terrain meant he preferred to strike, seize, and withdraw. Anatolia and the Ottomans. In one of his most dramatic battles, Timur confronted the rising Ottoman Sultan Bayezid I at the Battle of Ankara in July 1402. Using water denial tactics, division of the Ottoman coalition, and coordinated cavalry, Timur captured Bayezid, incredibly rare for an Ottoman sultan, and smashed Ottoman power for a time. After the victory, he did not annex Anatolia fully. Instead, he systematically fragmented it, dismantled Ottoman momentum, and exited while his adversary's empire staggered. Syria and the Levant. In 1400 and early 1401, Timur's armies swept into Syria, sacking Aleppo and Damascus. Contemporary sources describe mass killings, deportations of artisans to Samarkand, and vast plundering of medieval cities. In Baghdad, upon capturing the city, he is said to have ordered the construction of skull towers, macabre monuments of defeat. While exact numbers are contested, the effect was unmistakably designed for terror. Strategy of terror and theater. What set Timur apart wasn't just the breadth of his conquests, but the character of his methods. Unlike many conquerors who aimed to rule newly incorporated territories, Timur often used a raiding campaign model: strike hard, extract booty, deport skilled workers, inflict terror, and then withdraw, leaving devastation in his wake. His usage of skull pyramids, which chroniclers recorded outside cities that resisted, served as horrifying advertisement. This is what happens if you oppose me. In conquered cities where he saw value, he spared artisans and merchants, but often only to transport them to his own capital of Samarkand, thereby enriching his regime and devastating his enemies' capacities. In addition to raw destruction, Timur manipulated symbolism. He styled himself the Sword of Islam, even while his campaigns devastated fellow Muslims at times. He appropriated Mongol imperial imagery even as he patronized Islamic scholars and Persianate culture. This dual identity, nomadic warlord and courtly patron, allowed him to navigate disparate spheres: steppe loyalty, Islamic legitimacy, and sedentary rule. Legacy, desolation, and cultural patronage. Timur died on the 17th or 18th of February 1405 near Otrar on the Syria River while preparing an invasion of Ming China. He was transported back to Samarkand and interred in the Gure Amir Mausoleum, which remains a masterpiece of Timurid architecture and a symbol of his dual nature. The destroyer who built a shrine. His empire did not outlast him for long. Within decades, infighting among his successors allowed Uzbek and other forces to take over most of Central Asia. Unlike the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan, which remained stable after his death, Timur's realm fragmented quickly. And yet, culturally, his impact was lasting. Samarkand became a hub of arts, science, architecture under his successors like Ulugh Beg. The Timurid dynasty laid foundations for the Mughal Empire in India, founded by his descendant Babur. Was he more brutal than Genghis Khan? This question invites comparison, though meaningful comparison is tricky. Genghis Khan built a state that institutionalized rule, adopted the policies of economic exchange and governance, absorbed diverse peoples, and maintained the territories his successors enlarged. His brutality was real and arguably foundational to the Mongol system. Timur, by contrast, refined the art of terror for short-term effect and symbolism. He often did not seek to govern in the long term. His objective was destruction, extraction, spectacle. As one scholar noted, unlike Genghis Khan, who commonly incorporated defeated states into his empire proper, Timur made little effort to establish effective administration over conquered territory. He frequently left defeated rulers to govern in his name. Timur justified the bloodshed as necessary to terrorize the enemy in order to prevent resistance. In terms of sheer destruction per campaign, the historian must note the limits of pre-modern numbers. Many figures are exaggerated. The true scale of casualties in Delhi, Baghdad, or Anatolia is uncertain. But the pattern of Timur's violence, the targeted terror, the skull towers, the mass deportations, makes him stand out. Symbolically, he may have been more brutal in his stylistic use of terror, though perhaps not quite as geopolitically transformative as Genghis. Thus, the answer: Timur may not have created a lasting empire as Genghis did, but in terms of calculated brutality, theatrical devastation, and the use of fear as a strategic tool, he arguably pushed the envelope. The difference is one of form and duration rather than raw numbers alone. Reflecting on the paradox, how strange it is. A man who destroyed so much also became the patron of so much beauty. The turquoise domes of Samarkand, the calligraphy, the astronomical observatories, these were all built in the shadow of massacres. Timur's tomb itself is a contradiction. The final resting place of a conqueror whose habit was mythic destruction. His legacy forces us to ask, can a ruler be judged by the sculptures built on the bones of his victims? And if terror is effective and spectacle works, what does that say about the nature of power? And so the story of Tamerlane leaves us with one haunting question. Does greatness excuse cruelty? Or does cruelty define greatness? His monuments still shine. His cities of skulls are long gone. But the memory of the fear he commanded still echoes across history. If you found this journey into the past gripping, don't just leave with curiosity, take action. Hit that like and subscribe. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity alive, and remember, history is never just the past.